Unfortunately, I cannot welcome you in Portuguese. Sorry. At least I have difficulties with English, and I hope that what you understand is that what I meant to say to you. Maybe it works. We heard about, a lot about the term of school sports, and you notice that school sport has different meanings. You will hear about a new meaning concerning Switzerland. And it's useful that I show you the concept of sports in general in Switzerland. And I think I have the one or other, you will be astonished to hear that. I have to tell you how Switzerland is politically organized. It's a little bit different. We have the Federation, you know, Federation of Switzerland. Then we have the government, which is constituted of 7 ministers. They are called federal councillors. Then we have, and that is the special thing in Switzerland, we have 26 called cantons. It's something like Martin told before in Germany, it's something like states. But the difference between Germany and Switzerland is that the political power is full on the side of these cantons. They are very powerful, and the role of the federation of the 7 ministers is simply a role of making propositions. And then these propositions, they go into the cantons, and the cantons decide whether they accept or not. And that's how it's possible that we, in the early June, we denied to buy, the people in Switzerland denied to buy a fighter for the army, whereas the councillor wanted to buy it, but the people said, no, we don't buy that. And it's the power of the cantons, the power of the people that they can deny political processes. And in this frame, you have to see school sports. Whereas school sports is something special in Switzerland, you will see that. I want to declare the role of the cantons, the role of the federation, of the minister of the federation. We heard that before. The role of the states or with us of the cantons is a regular role. I say they are absolutely responsible for all you can read here, for subjects in school, for curricula, for lessons per week, for the amount of lessons per week. They are responsible for timetables and at least for personal matters, teachers and salaries, etc. But you see, except this concerns all the subjects except PE. It's the special position of PE. And there down you see the position of school sports. We speak today about school sports. In Switzerland, school sport hasn't this important position as we heard before from Portugal or from Germany. But I'm going to explain that. Now, what is special at that? The special is that all the regarding education is under the law and under the power of the cantons. So they can decide what they want to do. That leads to the situation that we have in one canton, we have in the 3rd primary school, we have the first foreign language French, and in the next canton you have the foreign language English. And of course we have this one is the only canton who speaks Italian, so of course there is the first language is maybe German, and we have an absolute mix of rules, of curriculums, and so on. And it doesn't make it easy, but you see, except PE. This is the special position in Switzerland, and when you see whereas this PE is attached to which ministry, normally you would say sports education, that must be the Ministry of Education, but in Switzerland it is not. PE is the only subject in school which is federal organized, which follows the federal laws, and which is, and you see it, is under the Ministry of Defense, not of Education. But I can tell you there are a lot of advantages when you are in this ministry. Now the role of this ministry, especially pronounced the federal administration. The minister has a federal administration for sports, and now this is in Switzerland, this is the absolute center for sports, for every question of sport. And you see this federal administration of sport, as the cantons do not have the power over PE, it is delegated to this federal administration. And this federal administration, as I said before, has a lot of advantages for us. One is listed here. But there are other advantages regarding the time, the lessons per week. Thank you, I could use it, yes. Lessons per week. We have in Switzerland, we have a federal law which is absolutely, has the absolute power that in the schools from the 1st to the 9th year, there has to be 3 lessons PE teaching in the school per week. And it is, we also experience that it is punished by law when a school doesn't follow this law. We are glad about that, of course. Then you see this federal administration is in charge of all the concerning things about PE, the curricula. We have federal curricula, which varies, of course, a little bit in the cantons, but in fact they are equal because they are federal organized. Then the teaching, the education of the teachers is federal organized, and also teaching materials or all the facilities for PE is organized like that from the central federal administration of sport. Now you see this federal administration is very important for sports in Switzerland concerning the PE in school. You are all PE teachers, I don't need to explain what PE means. With us in Switzerland, there is an absolute strict break between PE and school sports. I will explain that. The federal administration is in charge of this PE in schools and is also in charge of education of non-PE teachers and how shall I say, club functioners who want to educate or to teach children in some sports. You see that in the second frame. It is called the Federal Organization Youth and Sports, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the physical education, but it is also in charge of the federal administration. And at least the last frame there is the position of the so-called federated sports, or the associations, the sport clubs. They are also in relation with this federal administration, but they are not somehow guided, they only supported by, in cooperation with this federal administration. Normally they are self-standing. But now important are the relations between these frames. You see that for PE teaching, there is no possibility from the third or the third and the fourth frame to get somehow into PE. It's not possible because these are not pedagogical teachers. They're on a lower level. So I can say, this is the concept of sport in Switzerland, so I can say when we go further to the question, by the way, I follow the questions you have already heard from Claude and from also Nuno, you had them. It's the same questions as I follow. Relationship between school sports and PE. I think it's given by this frame. When you make a frame around, then it's the yellow area here, which is in relation with PE, special relation. The first frame in direct relation, and the second frame, the first red and the second red, in a not directly related, but maybe it could be teachers also. That's a possibility. But in fact, the second red frame is only related to school sports. And now you see, school sports isn't related with PE concerning contents and so on. It is related by the organization, the school. The school organizes the school sports, but I'm coming to the contents. But for me, what is absolutely important is that the third red frame has no conjunction, no possibility to enter in PE in school. I find that very important because we often see that these clubs, these associations, they don't have the same topics as we have in PE. So, the institutional affiliation, I think it's clear. Also, this red frame shows the institutional affiliation. It's clear that it is related to PE, and then the question of the professional status of the human resources. You have here the parts, the highest part of education in Switzerland, university, and a kind of university, the pedagogical universities, where specially are educated or built the teachers. Classroom teachers with PE, and at the university, especially at this one is called the Federational Technical High School, there we have special PE teachers education. And in school, also in school sports, we only have persons which fits in this frame, no one else. In school sports and in physical education. Now the promoted activities in school sports, I specially pronounce it's school sport, not PE. As I said, you know what PE contains. I don't need to repeat. School sports gives us the possibility, the opportunity to experience special activities. And these are written here. Of course, Switzerland is something different to Madeira. We don't have any sea. We have water, but we don't have the big seas. Swimming isn't so important. Maybe skiing, maybe orienteering. I can say the topics in school sport depends on the possibilities of the region, of course. If you have a skiing area, you go skiing, you can skate, you can play hockey. If you are near a sea, near a small sea, you can surf, you can row. Then it depends on the infrastructure of the school, of course. If there is a swimming facility, you can. Maybe you have archery, you have a beach volleyball field, as we have in our school. Depends. Then, of course, the skills of the teachers. You will see afterwards. We have also a school sports in self-defense, because the teacher is able to do that, but not any teacher can do that. And at least it's related to the desire of the pupil. In our school, pupil can make proposals for contents of school sports, and if there are enough pupils, enough students, then we have this possibility to do that. I think I can say it like that. The school sports in Switzerland is supplementary or complementary, as you said before, to PE, but it has absolutely nothing to do with PE. And the question of place and duration for that, I take the timetable of my school where I'm teaching, and you see the red frames. These are time and place, of course, in our gym. Time during the lunch recreation time, wherever it fits. We also ask pupils and students and look where are possibilities, but it is in the timetable of the school, this integrated. And then something special, maybe you have seen that, here is written school sports. In fact, it's written school sport, but it isn't school sport. It is a coincidence that we have in our gym an association, a volleyball association, who makes trainings for pupil, but not from our school. It's just a coincidence, and that's nothing to do with our curriculum or something else. Well, that's the position and the concept of school sports in Switzerland. I hope you have seen the speciality, Ministry of Defense, and I'm proud of this law about 3 lessons because it's a success from our association. We had a lot of work and a lot of lobbying in the political persons, but we succeeded to install this law, and we are happy about that, of course. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. It's my great honor to be here and to present you the Czech School Sport Clubs Association, but I'm not a member of this kind of association, so the presentation will be just the description of the situation which is in the Czech Republic. The motto of the Czech Association, School Sport Association, is that youth leisure time is a very valuable asset, and therefore it can be used in a proper way, and we should take advantage of it. Mission of the Czech Association is that to form a positive attitude of children towards sport and physical activities in general. So to show that participation in physical activities can be fun and can be entertaining for all pupils, not only for those who are talented. So it starts from the first grade at schools, but it's not compulsory in every schools. I will come to that later. It's also have the mission to prevent civilization diseases and drug abusing, because if the children have something to do in their leisure time, they won't probably use drugs. Okay, so this is not to support top athletes. It's not only for talented pupils, because those who are talented should attend federated sport clubs for those who will want to perform the best results. So it is for all, regardless of their physical fitness, physical abilities. The situation is very similar to that you heard about German and in Luxembourg. So PE is compulsory for everyone, but the school sports clubs are voluntarily. So for school sports clubs is to offer another space, mainly in leisure times. Children can choose according to their interests, so if they are interested in, let's say, volleyball, they choose volleyball activities or whatever they want. So these are the disciplines they can have, mainly in the afternoon hours. And also, if it is a school sports club, they use school facilities. If there are schools that they don't have proper facilities, like it can happen in villages or in rural areas, they may agree to schools to establish sports centers within schools, and these sports centers are financed by the association. How it is with the school sport and federated sports, as I said before, it's for those who are not talented. So the aim is not to train top athletes. Also, the school sport clubs do not compete with sport clubs, with those federated clubs. So they have their own competition. These competitions are based on the proper level, on the certain level of the students or of the pupils who are part of the school clubs. And the system for this school competition is a qualification system, so they compete within the region, then within the district, and then the best teams are sent to the international competition, which is the one which was not set here, and it is the International School Sport Federation. So the best winning teams are sent to this to the competition organized by International School Sports Federation. Czech Association held already 10 world finals of the International School Sport Federation competition, and the last one was in 2013 in Karlovy Vary, which was the ISF Athletics. About institutional affiliation of school sports clubs are part of educational system. It's not a part of Ministry of Defense or something else, but because our ministry is Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport, so it's very close together. And it is within the school program. As I said before, schools provide own facilities and also experienced teachers who, in their leisure time after school, leads and coaches their children to enjoy the physical activities. So they are professional. Also, this association organizes twice a year, in 2-year period, their own seminars for educating PE teachers, so they can have some better qualification. This year, in August 2014, we will organize, it's called Tělo Olomouc, it's in English Body Olomouc, so it's oriented on the improving qualification and to obtain some new information, new activities, and to participate and sometimes to meet colleagues from the universities. So this is the main, let's say, seminar, main things. Students and activities, as I said, it starts from the year, from the sixth year. So from the first grade until the year of 19, so we have a 13 grade. Main focuses on youngest pupils. And we have, it's according to schools, what kind of sport discipline they can offer. So if they have a professionalist in, let's say, volleyball, football, they might offer this kind of activities. So it's up to their profession. And nowadays we have almost over 20,000 activities. Okay, let's go on. So school sport clubs offers depends on also the pupils' interest and also the possibility of the teachers. And mainly there are traditional disciplines which are offered. So as you can see, some pictures from the competitions, and you have a chart, or you can see the number of students which is increasing every year who are competing in school sport clubs. About the infrastructure, as I said, it depends on the school facilities. Some schools, they don't have facilities. They can join together at least 2 schools, so they can establish sports centers. And these sports centers might be used for the pupils from both or 3 different basic schools, elementary schools. And from the beginning, they are financially supported at least for the 3 years, and then they have to prove that they are able to exist. So numbers for this: now we have 19 sports centers supported and 43 centers that are working, but it depends also on the money and on the support from the school management. This offers the activities are in the afternoon time. Hours and number of hours depends on the pupils' interest. Sometimes pupils can attend not only one activity, but they can have many activities. So it depends on the space and on the capacity. It means the facility. So you cannot have like 100 pupils playing football. Yeah, so you have to reduce. Okay, and these are some information for those who are interested, but I'm sorry that they are only in Czech. So Czech School Sport Club Association, they have own web page, and they have own magazine, which is called Do toho, that's the face. They also have their own e-shop for some material equipment for physical education, also for sports, and they use direct mail to inform all the schools about seminars, about workshops, and also they have a Facebook page. So that's just short information from the Central Europe country.
Good morning, everybody. So just to introduce me, I am a National Secretary of the SNEP. It's a special organization for you because we are a trade union for physical education. Not only for sport teachers. We take in charge the contents and the definition of physical education and the right of the workers. So our work is about all these things. My presentation is about, like my colleague, to answer to the question, and different question, is what is the sports school? How is its development in France? In France, we have two different systems for the sports school. We have the sports school for the elementary school, the first one, the name is ESEP. The second one for the middle school, and the last one is for the university. Me, I choose to speak only about the second one because I think so for you it's more different than the other system that you know. So I just speak about the sports school in college and higher school. We have 1 million of members, so it's a very big sports federation. It's a bigger federation than the other federation, sports federation in France. It's the most important federation. In this federation, sports school, we have a lot of children. We have the first sport federation for the feminine sport in France, and this is very important for the sport organization because a lot of women practice sport in this federation. 40% are girls. For the repartition of the children, you can see we have 25% of the children who practice sport. When I say 25%, is 25% of the children who are in school. So it's an important number of children who practice sport with us. After, when we are in higher school, we have only 15%. Less children, young, we can say, continue to practice sport with this federation. The sport federation, we organize the activity during the Wednesday afternoon. And we organize competition and training during these 3 hours the Wednesday afternoon. But we can also organize these training courses during the lunch or after the school. But we used to do this the Wednesday afternoon. The 3 pillars of sports school in France. The 3-hour school sports contract hours for all PE teachers. I will develop each point after. The second one is a sport association in every secondary school. And the first one, a multi-sport school federation, the Sports School National Union in France is UNSS. Who organized the competition? This is, I think, so a particular of what Sports School France Sports School Federation. The competition, the responsibility is by the national sports school in France, but the official referee and judge are the children and young. So the sport teacher, we are coach. We didn't organize the competition. We are not referee of this competition. All the competition are done by the children and the young. We have in total a lot of members who take in charge these roles of referee and judge. We have 80,000 persons, children who take in charge this responsibility. You can see, like the other sports school federation, we have different activity in France. It will be interesting to check if we have a lot of difference together, but what I listened until this morning, I think so we have the same activity. We have games, sport, and we have dance too, and other activity like athletic or swimming pool. For the second point, we have it's an important thing about in each school we must have an association, a sports school association. The president of this association is the headmaster of the school, and this is an important point for us because we work with him and we push him to take in charge the responsibility of the development of this association. The second point is the association is managed by the leading committee with PE teacher, pupils and parents. We try to do this association very development in the school and in the life of the school. Third point, and I think so it's a very important point, and we work a lot like a trade union about this point, is the 3-hour school sport contracted hours for all sport teachers. Each PE teacher has in his timetable a contract of 3 hours to attend to the sport association in collaboration with the Sports School National Union. It's an important point in my service. I must each week to give 3 hours for the sports school. Something important too. Until 1 month ago, the law been voted 1 month ago. Until this date, the sport teacher and my organization, the SNEP, pushed the administration to do it. It wasn't the law. The law said the contrary about these things, but we pushed the organization, and the administration can do other things and give to all sport teachers 3 hours in the service. It's for this we used to say the sports school, the art of physical education. In France, the PE teachers are very interesting and they support the sports school a lot, and they very be involved in the development of the sports school. What is the relationships between the physical education and sports school? We have 3 cases of relationships between sport and physical education. The first one, and the more important, I think so, is a continuity. Sport practice during the physical education lessons can continue in competition against the other school. We have some activity, handball, football, or something, or some else, where a direct continuity of what you do with your children in the school. The second point, and is interesting to have a question about this choose, absence. It's not really absence, but there is not a lot of team and not a lot of children and young practice this sport. You have absence in school sport, but present in physical education. For example, now the box or ultimate are a lot of development in physical education lessons, but not a lot during the sports school. The last point is the contrary. We have an absence in the physical education, but a lot of in the sports school. The more important is football, soccer, or football in the... So we can ask why the sport teacher don't want to teach football during the physical education lessons. It's a good question, and I think so it's important to think about this. The last point, how is the relationships between school sport and sport federation? The school sport is not the only sport for the young people. To explain what I would like to say with this point is the sport school in France, there are not only the possibility for the children to practice sport. We have two systems. The sport school during the classroom and the Wednesday afternoon, and during the weekend, the Federation of Sport continue, sometimes with the same children, with the same competition, with the same rules. They continue to practice, to develop the sport. So, for the moment, we can't say the sports school is the sport for all the young. No, we have the both system at the same moment. We can see now for the Sport Federation there are a lot, little and little more interesting about the sports school. Why? For me, for at least two reasons. To increase the number of members and the culture of their sport. This is the strategical and to develop the number of members of the sport. And second point, to increase the level of sport in France. Because if the children begin to practice training courses and competition with qualified PE teacher, with good skill, they will have positive effect and better quality in sport. The Sport Federation in France, they see a lot of children when they will arrive in the club. If they did before with a PE teacher a good lessons of physical education in this sport, they will be good in the sport and they go more quickly and they have a good level for the future. So they are interesting about this question and they begin to work and follow more and more they follow the sports school and what the PE teacher do in the sports school. To conclude my presentation of our school in France, the more difference is the sports school is a right for all and is a different case than the sport with the federation. We work and we fight against all the people who think the sport is only for some persons. The sports school is a real right, and it's for this, for us, it's very important. Each PE teacher have a contract for 3 hours. Each school must be to have a sport club to develop the right for all the children to practice sport during the school. Thank you very much.